to savor this encounter. She wanted to see him from every possible angle, to imprint him on her memory forever, because she thought this would be her only chance for so detailed a scrutiny. If anyone had told her what the future truly held, she'd have fainted with the thrill of it. At last, her decaying orbit brought her within his grasp. Only the immediate circle of admirers stood between them, 1 or 2 deep. He locked onto her eyes, injecting charm into his gaze, and with a polite nod to those around him, he took a step towards her. The bodies parted obediently as he said, "Delightful to have met you. Do excuse me." Uncertainty flitted across her face. Was she supposed to move like them, or should she stay in the ambit of his mesmerizing stare? It was no contest. It never was. She was captivated, the reality of this evening outstripping her every fantasy. "Hello," he said, "and what's your name?" She was momentarily speechless, never so close to fame, dazzled by that spectacular dental display, all for her benefit. "My, what big teeth you've got," he thought. "All the better to eat her with." "Donna," she finally stuttered. "Donna Doyle." "That's a beautiful name," he said softly. The smile he won in response was as brilliant as his own. Sometimes it all felt too easy. People heard what they wanted to hear, especially when what they were hearing sounded like their dream come true. Total suspension of disbelief, that's what he achieved every time. They came to these events expecting Jacko Vance and everyone connected to the great man to be exactly what was projected on TV. By association, anyone who was part of the celebrity's entourage was gilded with the same brush. People were so accustomed to Vance's open sincerity, so familiar with his very public probity, it never crossed their minds to look for the catch. Why should it, when Vance had a popular image that made good King Wenceslas look like Scrooge? The punters listened to the words, and they heard Jack and the Beanstalk, from the little seed Vance or his minions planted. They pictured the burgeoning flower of a life at the top of the tree, right alongside his. In that respect, Donna Doyle was just like all the others. She could have been working from a script he'd written for her. Having moved her strategically into a corner, he made as if to hand her a signed photograph of Vance the megastar. Then he did a double take so exquisitely natural it could have been part of De Niro's repertoire. "My God," he breathed. "Of course, of course." The exclamation was the verbal equivalent of smiting himself on the forehead with the heel of his hand. Caught with her fingers inches from his as she reached out to take what had been so nearly offered, she frowned, not understanding. "What?" He made a twisted little moo of self-disparagement. "Ignore me. I'm sorry. I'm sure you've got much more interesting plans for your future than anything we superficial program makers could come up with." The first time he'd tried the line, hands sweating, blood thudding in his ears, he'd thought it was so corny it couldn't fool a drunk 1 sip from Catatonia. But he had been right to go with his instincts, even when they had led him down the path of the criminally naff. That first one, just like this next one, had grasped instantly that something was being offered to her that hadn't been on the agenda for the insignificant others he'd been talking to earlier. "What do you mean?" Breathless, tentative, not wanting to admit she already believed in case she'd misunderstood, and left herself open to the hot, shaming flush of her misapprehension. He gave the faintest of shrugs, one that hardly disturbed the smooth fall of his immaculate suiting. "Forget it," he said, with a slight, almost imperceptible shake of the head, disappointment in the sad cast of his eye, the absence of his...